It's Thursday, December 14th. I'm your host, Sarah Beal. On today's show, we talk with Police Chief Paul McDonald about the changes to the police department's 911 system. Then we'll get a legislative update from State Rep Will Crocker. And finally, we'll check in with the Barnstable County Register of Deeds, Jack Mead. But first, let's get a look at today's top headlines. Members of the Town of Barnstable's Police Department's Community Impact Unit and the Department of Public Works Homeless Camp Cleanup Crews received the Rosenthal Award at the Barnstable County Human Rights Commission's annual breakfast celebrating International Human Rights Day. Teresa Santos, the Town of Barnstable representative to the Human Rights Commission, presented the award. Santos said, "These two teams work together in a true attempt to break the cycle of homelessness and secure the connection to much-needed services for an incredibly vulnerable population. The remarkable compassion and efforts put forth over the past several years has evolved into an endeavor resulting in the reduction of number of camps overall. The strides that have been made reflect the team's intent to make sure all people realize that they do matter." Congratulations to both the Community Impact Unit and the DPW for all of their hard work. The DPW Snow and Ice brochure is now available on the town's website and also right here at Town Hall. The brochure gives you all the information you need on how the DPW operates during a snow and ice event. It also gives you tips on how you would help to make their job easier. Pick one up today or view it on the town website at townofbarnstable.us. Finance Director Mark Milne has prepared the Town of Barnstable's 10-year financial forecast. It is available to be viewed on the town's website. Long-term financial forecasting allows the town to consider its financial future beyond the current climate, the current immediate subsequent fiscal year. The focus of the 10-year forecast is concentrated on the trends illustrated over the past 10 years and how those may be replicated over the next 10 years, as well as how this report can be connected to the town's other planning. These plans are all interconnected. You may view the 10-year financial forecast on the town's website, townofbarnstable.us. Up next, I talk with Chief of Police Paul McDonald. Chief, thank you so much for joining us today. Very excited to talk to you. The emergency 911 system that you guys recently installed that makes it so that you can receive cell phone calls in the town of Barnstable was approved by the state last Friday, and I assume that you've started using it already, and how's it going?
We started taking our own cell 911 calls as of midnight last Thursday night, early Friday morning. Last September, October, our 911 system was all upgraded to the enhanced 911, which allows us now to take those cell phones. When the 911 system first went in, the vast majority of all the calls came in through the landlines. However, as technology has evolved over the years, most of our 911 calls now come in through cell phones, and our old system did not have the ability to accept those calls. They were all transferred to the Mass State Police Troop Headquarters in Middleborough. They got the calls, asked a series of questions, and transferred the calls to us. This was a big, huge step for us because what we're trying to do, obviously, is to provide a much better service to our residents of Barnstable, but we have to eliminate those transfers. Obviously, if someone's sick or injured, they need that rescue squad, they need the police department there, they need the fire department there as quickly as possible, and eliminate these transfers will greatly enhance our response time. So we started taking them on last Friday, and it's going very, very well. There has been a couple of glitches in the systems because as we met with the state over the last several weeks, we look at the geoprocessor and how are they going to eliminate the calls, because most of the cells are geoprocessed through the cell tower usage. That's how we know where these individuals, where they're calling from. So there's been a couple of glitches. We received some 911 calls that should have been routed to Falmouth. Some calls should have been rerouted to the lower Cape towns. But because of our systems, even though there was a slight error in the routing, we were able to take those calls and then reroute them to the primary public safety answering point. So pretty much it's going much better than we anticipated. We were concerned about the increased number of calls. Before, if there was a major motor vehicle accident, we'd only get one of those cell 911 calls. But now, as you can imagine, if there's a motor vehicle crash at one of the major intersections, everybody with a cell phone is going to be calling us. So we were able to weed through all of those calls, and as of right now, it's going very, very well.
That's so great to hear. And, like you were saying, the switch to cell phones was huge. I mean, most people don't even have landlines in their homes anymore. Most people just use their cell phones. So the ability to have this capability to go right to the police department for these calls is, I think that's going to be such a huge thing. And we're one of the first towns in the state to incorporate this, correct?
Yes, I believe there's less than a dozen towns out there right now who are doing it. So the state is watching us very, very carefully. They're monitoring us to make sure there are no glitches in the systems, and it's going well. And our next logical step is to get rid of the next transfer, which once we get the 911 calls, we then, if it's fire or rescue, if it's the police, we obviously can dispatch our resources immediately. But if it's police or rescue, we then have to transfer it, and we want to eliminate that transfer also. And when you can eliminate those two transfers, you're talking, you're saving between 2 and 3 minutes, and that is literally life and death to some individuals.
It's so true. And I know as part of this that you've hired on some new dispatchers that are going to start in January. So looking forward to that. I know that right now that the police officers are covering the 911. Right. Do you have plenty of staff? I assume you have plenty of staff for that.
We have staff right now, but again, police officers should be out doing a police officer's job. They should not be sitting in dispatch. So we are changing that over. We are completely civilianizing our dispatch program. We have given 9 conditional officer employment to 9 individuals. We are waiting for the 911 Academy to start. It was scheduled to start on January 5th. Now it's been bumped back to the end of January. So we are looking forward to get them through the academy, bring them on board, and then move forward. And we're working very, very closely with the Hyannis Fire Department, and hopefully they are going to be coming on board where we will be taking their 911 calls and dispatching their fire apparatus and rescue squads right here from the PD, which, again, will eliminate that transfer.
Yeah, I talked to Chief Burke a little bit about this. I think this is a wonderful idea, and I'm happy to hear that it looks like it's going forward. And you're going to be presenting this idea to the town council next Thursday, correct?
The final step of it, town council, town management, they are fully aware of it. They're on board with it. They seem to be like they're very supportive of this. They of course have the best interest of the residents at heart. So the last final step is an MOU between the town of Barnstable and the Hyannis Fire District. Obviously, we're a little bit different here. We have districts rather than a town fire department, so we have to go into an agreement with it. That's being worked out. Our legal attorney Holt is working very, very hard on this. We believe we have it down to the final draft. We have a couple of meetings this afternoon and tomorrow to really finalize that, and then Chief Burke will bring it forward to his fire commissioners, and I want to present it to the town council hopefully on the 21st.
Wonderful. It's so great to hear. Is there anything else you want to let our viewers know about before I let you go?
The only other thing is last Saturday, the Barnstable County Human Rights Commission had their annual dinner, and during that dinner, they gave the Rosenthal Award to the Barnstable Police Community Impact Unit. They did such a great job over the years in dealing with the homelessness, and they're actually recognized because of the way they deal with the homeless, the way they deal with the individuals living in the camps. It's a humanitarian award, so it's great that those 4 officers were recognized for their hard work.
That's wonderful. I was actually at the Human Rights event, and I was so pleased to see that the Barnstable Police Department and the DPW were both honored for the Rosenthal Award. Kudos to all of them, because it's not an easy thing to do, but to be able to do it with compassion and kindness, I think, is important, and they definitely do that.
They do. They do a great job.
Thank you so much, Chief. I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Okay, talk to you then.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. My guest today is Barnstable Police Chief Paul McDonald. Coming up, we'll take a look at November's real estate numbers with Register of Deeds Jack Mead. But first, let's get a legislative update with State Rep Will Crocker. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to do it's the end of the year. You guys are out of session right now. You can pick up again in January, but I wanted to take a chance to kind of go over everything that you've accomplished this year and things that you've been working towards in this year. I know a big one was the home rule petition for the charter, which passed, and then we voted on it, and that's also passed. So let's talk a little bit about that and the process.
Well, I was very pleased that passed. I was able to, oh, by the way, thank you very much for having us here. But very pleased to watch it from the entire process right from the beginning, because as a town councilor, I sat on the subcommittee that came up with the changes for the charter. We made a list of recommendations to the full council. The full council voted on them, and then they went up to Boston as a home rule petition, because it does change the way the town of Barnstable operates in terms of the rules and charter regulations. So it needed to be approved up on Beacon Hill. We sent it to Beacon Hill. It went to the Committee on Municipalities and Regional Government, where I testified for it to come out favorably from the committee, which it did. It went to the House floor for debate. It was an interesting process because it was actually the first piece of legislation that I had put forward. So the process was all entirely brand new to me. So it went to the floor, and it was engrossed in the floor, and then it went to the Senate, and it was engrossed in the Senate, thanks to help from Senator DiMacedo and Senator Sear. Then it goes back to the House again, where it is enacted. Then it goes back to the Senate, where it is enacted, and then it finally goes to the governor's desk for signature. And we managed to get all of that done with about 3 days to spare, because I had the town clerk calling me and emailing me on a regular basis going, when is this bill going to get passed? And I'm telling, it's going to get passed. We'll get it done in time, and we got it done. We got it to the governor's desk and his signature with 3 days to spare, because the town clerk needs to know whether or not it's going to be on the ballot, and she needs to tell the printer, we can print it. So we managed to do that with 3 days to spare, and that's 3 days a little too close for me, but we got it done. But it was the first piece of legislation, and I was very happy to be able to say that as a town councilor and as a state representative, I was able to watch it, follow it all the way through from its initial stage in the subcommittee all the way up to when it was signed by the governor, then brought back here, and on election day in November it was approved, and from beginning to end.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it shows that while the process works, it does take a little bit of time. There is a process involved, but you were able to get it done, and 3 days to spare. 3 days, 3 weeks, same difference, right?
I was very happy to get it done in time.
Right. You have two other home rule petitions that we're working towards. One is nonprofit education in residential areas, and the other one is private money for public roads. Let's talk a little bit about those, because hopefully we'll see those come to fruition through the next year. Yeah,
the first one, which is House 3881, is another home rule petition that was passed by the town council, and as a state rep, I am obligated to file that, which I've done with everything that has come through the council. What H3881 wants to do is to, in the future, have all nonprofit educational institutions locate in areas other than residential areas. This kind of came to fore from the Hyannis situation, the Chase Street Hyannis. There's a nonprofit educational institution that has 4 group homes in the Chase Street area in Hyannis. And the neighbors were upset, the people who lived in that were upset that they really didn't have a voice in the process. The group came in, bought up the homes, and turned them into group homes. We're not doubting the educational significance of this. What they do is great work. It's just that the neighbors, the people who lived in that area, are concerned that they had no voice when it happened. That it was just strictly a real estate transaction, and they're very concerned about this. So what H3881 is going to do is going to say, in the future, we're not moving any of the homes in the Chase Street area out. They can stay, but in the future, nonprofit educational institutions will be asked to locate in any other area, any other district in the town. It's just not in residential areas. Where that stands now is that it is in front of House Council, because we made some changes to the language from the original language that the council approved. And Senator Sear's office had some concerns with that. They felt that maybe, as it was written, might violate some federal regulations, specifically Americans with Disabilities Act, some ADA. So his office, my office, and the legal office, Ruth Weil, we worked the language that is acceptable to the Senator's office, my office, and the legal department, and we have resubmitted it as amended language. So right now, House Counsel, the House of Representatives Legal Counsel, is looking at that language to see whether or not it can be amended or has to be refiled, because it's different. A home rule petition is different from a regular bill that I might perchance file, because it's just a different animal. And they haven't seen a home rule petition amended this way, so they're trying to figure out whether or not it has to be resubmitted or can it be amended. And that's where it is right now. House Counsel is looking at that amongst all the other bills that they have to look at for their legality. So right now it's in the hands of House Counsel. That was as of last week, and we're trying to move that along.
And the other one is the changing some wording to the private roads home rule petition to allow not just the maintenance of the roads, but also to allow some engineering and planning.
Right. As it stands now, when I was my first year in the town council, as chairman of the roads committee, one of the things that came out of that committee was the committee wanted to see the town council be able to put together another home rule petition to allow the town of Barnstable to expend public money for certain private roads. Not every private road, but certain private roads, major connector roads from one part of town to another, let's say maybe from Osterville to Centerville, or a major road that connects the town of Barnstable with, say, the town of Yarmouth or the town of Sandwich or the town of Mashpee. So there are major roads that people who do not necessarily live on them use them to get back and forth, maybe from back and forth to work, back and forth to school, or whatever. So they are major connector roads. So the town of Barnstable is one of the few towns in the state that can expend private money for the maintenance of these private roads, and we've been doing that now for 4 years. That money was allowed to be used strictly for the construction. What this new language says is that money can also be used for planning those roads, planning any maintenance that's going to be on those roads, and engineering. Maybe there's some drainage work that needs to be done. Maybe the road bed needs to be torn up and we've done over from the beginning. But money is expended to do those things, to do those engineerings, to do those planning pieces now can be used for that purpose. So it's not just strictly now just construction, it's also for planning and engineering.
Wonderful. So two great things to look forward to in 2018. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us. Good luck next year. I look forward to chatting with you again in January.
We will do that.
We'll get a jump start on what's going to be coming in the new year.
Very good.
Thank you. My guest today is Will Crocker. He's the state rep for the 2nd Barnstable District. Hey Jack, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to talk about November real estate sales in the county of Barnstable. So let's start with how November went.
Well, November was pretty good, actually. We were down just a touch from a year ago in terms of volume and overall value. So effectively the same as we were a year ago. We were only down less than 1% in the terms of volume of overall sales. It's 5 fewer sales than we did the year before.
Not bad.
And 4 of those 5 fewer sales were foreclosures that didn't happen, so that's a good sign. And the median sale value was down just 1.4% from a year ago. But we're still at a nice number of $355,000 for median sale value. So that's reflecting the strong market that we've seen of late.
That's great to definitely hear that things are kind of steadying and in a good spot. And like you said, we're down the foreclosures. I think if I remember correctly, we're down 4 less foreclosures than last year.
For the month of November, and for the year, we're down 7.5%, almost 8% from last year. Still not a spectacular decline, but at least it's a decline, and something we like to see is fewer and fewer of these foreclosure cases happening.
Mm-hmm. And on the whole, so far for the past 11 months, the numbers are looking pretty good.
That's correct. We're up. We're up for the year. Across the board, effectively in terms of the actual pure number of sales. We're up 2.8% for the year, which is a nice a nice number, which reflects about 200 more sales, to date than we did a year ago. Out of, we're talking 7,200 sales effectively so far this year, which is a good number. And then the median individual sales, value is up almost 3% from last year. So that's sort of what we've been doing. We've been trending 3 to 5, 4% the last few years in terms of the overall increase in value, median value. So, again, we like it going up that way and slow and steady, and takes a little of the drama out of the markets, and it's probably a good thing.
It's always a good thing. And do you know how Barnstable County is looking compared with, other counties across the state or even across the country?
No, unfortunately, okay. I'm not as up to speed. I know Massachusetts overall, and it does vary by county. We're doing okay, I think, relative to the other counties. Again, outside of the greater Boston, suburban, metro, exurban area is still a hot market, and that dwarfs what we do. But I think we're in reasonable solid territory in terms of in comparison with other sort of similarly situated counties. Although we are being a vacation land and a second homeland for a lot of our properties, we have some unique aspects to our housing market that other places don't. We have sort of more of a mix of, 50-50 mix of year-round and summer second homeowners, and I think the islands tend to have predominantly second home mortgage, home holders, and it's a much smaller market, so the properties are, priced accordingly.
Right. And I know that right now in Barnstable in particular, I know that there's definitely, as far as there's, the number of sales and things are steady, definitely the market is a little tight, because I'm getting flyers almost daily from real estate agents dying to sell my house to somebody.
Yeah, getting listings. Yeah,
yep.
I'm sure, everybody's looking for listings, yep. And obviously, because that's twofold. Obviously, you'd love to get the listings when you can, but the other end of it is you want to have, you need a decent supply to attract buyers too. Yep. People need, they want to be able to look at a variety of options, I think, when they're looking to buy, and the more the merrier for everybody involved, if that's possible. So yes, and the interest rates are still very good. So it's an attractive market from that perspective. You're not dissuading a lot of people in terms of things that maybe are outside their control, interest rates and things like that. So those factors are good and solid and are not preventing people from getting into the market, so to speak. There may be other things that prevent them from getting in the market on the personal nature, but writ large, the atmospheric, so to speak, are good, for getting involved in real estate.
Yeah, I really wish that I had waited, another year or two before I bought my house, because there wasn't a lot in my price range. And then I found, after I bought my house about a year and a half later, there started to be a little bit more housing available in my price range on the market. So it just kind of depends on when you hit it.
It's tough, nobody, it's the rare person who can time it perfectly.
Yeah.
You just, you've waited out, you like your place, but you
right.
don't love it maybe, so you give it some time and you keep your eyes open, and then, you look for the next thing. So. Okay,
great. Is there anything else about the November numbers you want to let our viewers know about before I let you go?
No, just happy that they came in, where they did, and, are not displeased. Let me put it that way, and I'm pleased that we're looks like we're going to finish the year in positive, in the black, so to speak. So that'll be good.
That's definitely a good thing, and we'll talk to you in January about the end of year December numbers, and maybe we can talk a little bit about how 2018 is looking.
I'll try to dust off the crystal ball. We'll see how it goes.
Thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate you joining us today.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
My guest today is Jack Mead. He's the Register of Deeds here in Barnstable County. Now let's take a look at this week's community calendar. Travel through the eyes of artist Betsy Payne Cook through January 15th right here at Town Hall. The Art on Loan program displays the works of local artists on the Town Hall hearing room and the Selectmen's conference room walls. Pastel plein air painter Betsy Payne Cook is exhibiting a selection of her travelogue paintings. Betsy is an avid plein air painter and travels with her pastel supplies, allowing her to paint on location when opportunities present themselves. She also takes many photographs to use as a reference for continuing her painting adventure when she returns home. Betsy lived in Wales, Great Britain for 9 years, returning to the States in 1994. The paintings in her series bridge the places she has visited on both sides of the Atlantic. Her paintings are a reminder of the time she has stood in the dunes of Cape Cod or on the side of a mountain in Vermont, admired the vista of the Welsh coastline or the harbors of St. Ives, England. The works of Betsy Payne Cook on display at Barnstable Town Hall, Hearing Room, and Selectmen's Conference Room are now through January 15th of 2018. There are no meetings scheduled for the rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with an all-new show. Tomorrow we will meet artist David Lewis. We'll check in with Assistant Recreation Director John Gleason and get an MEA update from Assistant Harbor Master Brian Taylor. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Beal.